We're welcoming Yaja to the stage. Now, Yaja is the founder of Empowering Leaders Bureau and the creator of Empowering Leaders Summit. Welcome.
Thank you, Alex.
You're
Always
so welcome.
the lucky last.
So, Yaja, with over 40 years experience working across multiple industries and, developing strengths in leading, planning, delivering, that's what you're most passionate about.
Mm.
And the topic you've chosen to speak about today is on empowering leaders in times of crisis. So, you're also the founder of Empowering Leaders Bureau and this summit as well. So I'm curious, if I may, what does empowering leaders mean for you?
I love this topic, and I love these two words together. I've always been passionate about leadership and empowering leadership, which is what we've been talking about pretty much all day today. It's something that each one of us have in a very, very unique way, and is reflected uniquely. I see empowering leadership in two different ways. One is um, everyone has a right to be a leader,
I love that.
and it's our responsibility to do something about that. Now, in companies, in organizations, there are many so-called leaders. It's the responsibility of the company to provide opportunities for their leaders, because this helps empower them, and it could be in the form of training, etc., how to be able to deal with crises, how to be able to deal with the seemingly insignificant incidents. It also allows them, again, we were talking about before when you and I were having a conversation previously about how it's important to get to know ourselves first. And if an organization or a company is in a position where they're basically saying, no, you've got a job to do, just do it. Don't worry about people. Don't worry about things.
And we hear that a lot, don't we?
It happens so much.
Yeah.
Basically, it's telling them, we don't want any of you. You just have to be a reflection of this company.
Yeah.
Now, a company is an organization. An organization comes from the term organic.
Nice.
And it's a natural process and organic, and what makes it organic? The people. Without the people, the company is simply a thing.
Oh my God, that's so cool. I love that.
Oh no, I know. I know. It's really cool. And and this is where it's got to begin. Everyone knows, of course. We all appreciate that there are many leaders in organizations. And we've said, okay, it's everyone's responsibility to take action, to make changes, to be able to do the right thing in an organization from the bottom up, etc., etc. However, really, it's really difficult if the people who are considered the leaders are not given the opportunities, if they're not supported by their management team, by the directors, by the boards, or whoever it happens to be. So the empowered leader is one who is given that permission, responsibility, the resources. There is so much. So, for example, this is why this Empowering Leaders Summit came about, because we knew that in those difficult times at the start, especially of COVID, there was upheaval. Leaders were not doing what leaders were meant to be doing. They
Were
didn't know
not given the opportunity to do what they were meant to be
they
doing.
weren't given the opportunity
Yeah.
to do what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
And
And
yeah, go on.
no, sorry, go ahead.
And when they're not given that opportunity, it means that they can't empower or give the opportunity for everyone else in their team to be empowered either.
Totally.
So in a sense, like you were saying before, we become like robots. We are simply doing the do. We are part of a machinery, a factory, whether it's in the workforce, in a corporate environment, or on a farm, or in in a non-profit organization. We're basically robots, replicas simply doing what needs to be done rather than being what the organization represents.
Or needs to be in order for it to grow. How many times, I love what you're sharing here, Yaja, and it's so powerful because this is such a wonderful space you've created to bring leaders together, to be able to even brainstorm or even perhaps learn different ways, different skills, different strategies, whatever, right?
Yes, it's creating some ideas for me now. Yes.
You know, I'm all about ideas. So the thing is, you know, what about those organizations? And I've heard it numerous times where you get the leaders say to their leaders, this is how we do it here. We don't do it any other way. So when people come and share, and it doesn't necessarily even have to be leaders. I know staff that have approached, I was one of those people. I approached a leader and said, hey, you know what, something's not working here at the minute. You know what, I'm thinking perhaps we can try this.
Yeah.
The response was, that's not how we do it here.
That's exactly
this is how we do it.
It's like, oh my God. Yes.
So, yeah, it's so diminishing. It's so, it's oppressive.
Yes. Diminishing, demeaning, dismissive.
Limiting. Yes, great one, Amanda. Yeah.
Completely. I love that. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Look. And what you were discussing in your session earlier on, which I really, really loved, about us being authentic selves, us being vulnerable, us being our real selves, because, you know, I've when we're not, we experience fear. When we're not, we are scared to speak up. When we're not, we allow ourselves to be bound by what the organization is telling us must be done. We are bound when we're not when we're not being our real selves, when we're not being allowed to be empowered, in a sense, we are not able to get the job done to the best possible extent. We'll get the job done, but not because of a grand reason. Every organization has a grand reason. You know, even if it's a machine that I'm selling, there is still a grand reason behind it. Yeah. It's not just a thing. There's a purpose for everything that we do.
Yeah.
And empowerment means it allows us to connect with our own purpose and the organization's purpose.
Totally. I love all that you said there too, you know, and when we're not encouraged, I love that too. Great one, Claire. Claire says, I love that, Yaja. You know, being our authentic self, otherwise we feel fear. The opposite of fear is love. Yes. And Bronnie says, you know, so true, not empowering people to solve the issues and bring their ideas and solutions to the table.
Nice.
And Donna, if I may just add Donna's, and then I just want to comment on that. She says, you know, or you put in 110% and get kicked to the curb. Yes.
No.
For your efforts. And that's what I was going to say, Yaja. You know, you said all these incredible things right now and people are getting it. When you're not encouraged to bring innovative ideas to the table, or when your ideas are just whatever, dismissed, why would you even want to? That's where it creates, I don't even want to go to work today.
Oh, yes.
I don't want to put in 100% today. You know what? I'm only going to do what I've got to do. I'm only going to do what I'm paid for the hour. I heard this so many times, and I still hear it in organizations. I'm not going to actually, you know what? I'm taking a sick day today. They can get stuffed. Those exact words. I heard it all the time because people aren't allowed to bring themselves.
And imagine, and you know, it's fantastic what you've just said, because it brings me back to your conversation, your session, where you were talking about that gap. We were talking about the bridging the gap and the importance of knowing what it is that we've been doing that isn't working.
Yeah,
we need to do that before we can actually bridge the gap by bringing in what can work. So you're demonstrating, you've just expressed here all the things that have been not working.
Yeah.
When people are not empowered, these are the experiences that they have. And this is practically how they demonstrate those experiences.
Absolutely.
Who wants that?
I know. And do you know what this is all about? It's about not creating a culture of feedback.
Yeah.
Feedback is so not acceptable.
Communication.
Totally. And people are scared. Like if you give them feedback, and feedback is innovation, guys. I mean, come on, right?
Yes.
If they give me feedback, it means I'm not doing a good job as a leader. So I'm not going to listen to you, and I'm just going to tell you that we don't do it like this here. This is how we do it here. So the leader goes away. And then how many times have you heard leaders say exactly what you've said and implement it in their own words, because they then have got You know, it's as if it was my idea and totally disregarded your idea.
Completely. And may I say, this is why we are asking for you all to complete that feedback survey. It's not because we want to see what it is that so-and-so is saying. We want it so that we can improve. So if you've got any feedback, you know, even if it's the technical stuff or the fact that you heard me swear earlier on, whatever it happens to be, any of your feedback means we can improve. We can change things. We can just make things so much better all round.
And so coming back, that's right, Yaja, 100%.
Yes.
Coming back to organisations, that's
so crucial.
It's creating a culture of acceptance, inclusion, exactly what Martin and most of us have expressed here today, that inclusion means feedback too, right?
Yes. It builds trust, as also has been threaded throughout today.
Yeah, awesome. So Yaja, I'm guessing then the purpose for you creating this summit is this exactly, yeah?
Very much. Look, I love this, the passionate conversations that can come out of it. And the ideas, like, for example, we've been having this conversation. I thought, wouldn't it be wonderful if we had, you know, several more or several dozen more people involved in these kinds of conversations, literally on a conversation. So that's the kind of thing, that's the whole purpose of Empowering Leaders Summit, to help people recognize that they've got it within themselves to be empowered. How much I have changed since we started this, how much we've both have, you know, gone through amazing changes ourselves since we first started this event way back in late March. It is phenomenal. And that's what empowering leaders do. By having these changes ourselves, by having these kinds of conversations ourselves, by being vulnerable, by being prepared to step out of our comfort zone, it shows the people around us that it's okay to do so as well. Because empowered leaders deal with successes and failures, winnings and losses, crises and insignificant matters. These are all part of the human, you know, human being experience. And you know, unless we embrace these, unless we can actually take these on board and do something with them and have these conversations, it's really difficult to be an empowered leader and then create other empowered leaders.
Awesome. Well said. Thank you so much. And you're so welcome, Beck. You're rocking this out. Couldn't have done it without you.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so
much. So Yaja, you know, we all have a hero's journey, and you know, often, as I believe Bronnie said before, we tend to create the most amazing things from passion. Why, my question to you is, for what purpose did you even do this? Like, what drove you? What was your inner diamond, your inner passion that drove you
started something
to create this, really? And just,
for me, it was basically, I could see that there was a need for leadership at a time when the world was in incredible upheaval, in turmoil, turned upside down. And
was it, if I can interrupt you, was it from something going back though? Because I know your journey.
Okay, from my earlier, sorry, thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Look, I remember way back in the early 90s, I was working for this dude, and he was very much into organizational change. So basically, he and I worked together. I was his assistant, and I developed a huge passion for change and leadership and culture. And anytime I got into conversations, this was something that was really important. Now, moving forward, fast forward quite some years. So in 2006 or 2005, really, I decided I was going to join the police. I was in my late 40s by then. So for a year I trained, and then I got into the police, and I stayed on for 6.5 years. Now, that was another level of leadership, or a different type of leadership. And I felt very constricted by that experience. Perhaps it's very much like the prison staff. There was lots of rules and regulations. And it wasn't until I left the police, retired from the police, and ended up being the CEO of an Aboriginal community in a desert community, or a desert region in New South Wales, in the East Kimberleys, that I was able to really put myself out there as a leader. And I had some very interesting challenges working in an Aboriginal community. I had learnt so much. It was just a wonderful experience. Needless to say, this also triggered this passion for leadership. And I know that in my situation as CEO of that community, I was empowered after I empowered others.
Wow.
It wasn't because I didn't know everything. I didn't know how to run an organization, never done it before, never been there, never done that. So there were many new experiences. I was new to the community, 3 days. I was actually offered the job on the third day. I was doing something completely different at first. So suddenly I was in this position of running this community, which is kind of like a council, for a small town. There was many different facilities, et cetera, resources and employment and, medical and schooling and arts and all sorts of things. I knew nothing about most of these things. So really for me to empower those who already knew empowered me to do what I was able to do best, which was actually about connecting people. And the different providers that were there in the community. So I loved that opportunity. So this is definitely something that's been at the back of my mind, threaded throughout my life in so many different ways. And I think particularly most recent times, years actually, maybe 5-6 years or something, I love this whole thing of, when upheaval comes, to me that is glorious.
Yeah.
I hate it in some ways, but at the same time, I know that that's where the most change is possible. That's where the hidden jewels or treasures that each of us have can emerge if we allow ourselves to, and if we have people around us that also provide that environment that helps us bring those things out of us. And which is why I come back to the organization. The organization has a huge responsibility to make to create these opportunities to help leaders become empowered so that they can empower the people around them.
Yeah, I love that, Yaja. What a beautiful story. And I love your journey. And absolutely, it's definitely a space where even learning that it's okay to, that it's within the obstacle. What's that Pearl saying? That Pearl with the I love that saying so much, and I'm not going to do it justice at all. Like, I can't remember it. But it's where the pressure is, where the great stuff happens, right?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
yeah. And this is what we're all experiencing right now.
Yeah.
Where we're experiencing, it's not just now, it's every day of our lives. There's something.
Yes.
The peaks and the troughs, and how do we deal with them? How do we better manage them?
Yeah, they're the unexpected things that just can make a difference if we take it on board.
Absolutely.
And we know that in businesses, in the corporate world, in any environment where we're surrounded by people, there are going to be peaks and troughs. We cannot control the environment. We've got to be aware of the environment, and what is it that we can do ourselves to be able to handle the situation at that time. Totally. And communication comes into it, as you've said.
Totally. I love what Bronnie says. Sorry to interrupt you there, Yaja. Amanda actually, so many people. Oh my God, it's awesome. Donna, to empower the people, you need their trust. Today has been based on trust. Every day is based on trust, Donna. I love that, and it's so important. Trust, you know what? It's so key. It's the first thing, really, and I love what you share there. And then the treasure is in the obstacle. Absolutely, Amanda, it is totally. It's on the other side of that. And thanks, Beck says, so many pearls of wisdom here today. I'm loving this community today.
I love Bronwyn's comment. People need to get uncomfortable to allow change.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. And, at the end of the day, it is about when we allow people to grow, and I don't mean that like permission wise. Some leaders don't allow their people to grow because it's going to make them look crap, but that's not the case. It's totally the opposite.
Yes.
when your people are growing, it's showing that your leadership is phenomenal.
Yes.
Because
Yeah. And we grow when the company grows.
that's exactly right. It's what Robbie said before. Like, she allows her people to grow. Yes, she keeps an eye on things to make sure that everybody is on trajectory, because that is so key, right?
Absolutely.
Swaying.
You'll have to have a captain of the ship.
Totally. But you're still allowing people to make those amazing decisions that is going to help your company grow. And it's in that, and you know, we're not conditioned to believe that, though. Most of us have been raised that you know, it's all about ourselves. It's look after yourself type thing, and it's not the way it should be.
What's in it for me?
That's it. And it is really, but at the end of the day, it's going to change for us to be able to grow. So what an incredible conversation.
Loved it. Yeah, it was fantastic. Thank you so much. Great questions too. Awesome.
And Bronwyn,
fantastic comments in the chat box. I love it.
So you can see them, can't you? So when the saying gets into the oyster, as it becomes, that's it. That's saying, Bronwyn. I'm not very good with sayings, but you get the gist. That's awesome. And
I love it. Yes, exactly.
So Yaja, thank you for sharing that. So given that, you know, and I'm going to ask you this question now because I always like to hear a competitive edge. So given that there are a few speaker bureaus around, and there are, right? We know there are. Yeah. What sets your speaker bureau apart from the rest?
Yeah. I consider that our speaker bureau is exclusive.
Yeah. How so?
In the sense, one is we focus entirely on leadership. All the other speakers bureaus do have leadership as a category that they have speakers for. We focus it on entirely. In most speakers bureaus, it's one of many, could be like 20, 80 categories. So it means that's our speciality.
Right.
Leadership. That's it, leadership. The next aspect that sets us apart is that we primarily are focusing on online delivery. Not just, but primarily that's our focus. Online delivery by our speakers, by our presenters, by our facilitators. Thirdly, we also provide these events. So we have these events going every single month, and none of the other speakers bureaus do have these available.
I think there's one more point.
And there was another more point. There is another point.
And the point is...
Oh, yes. We actually, we match the client. So what we do is we have a really in-depth and very personal, tailored needs analysis, which we conduct with our client, with potential clients
and speakers,
as well as for the speakers. We interview each individual speaker and facilitator to make sure that they match the values and the standards that we are expecting of our speakers and facilitators. And that's really key. We don't accept everyone just because they want to pay money. We accept people only because they are a match for us. So we pride ourselves with that.
I love that, Yaja. And another thing that you mentioned to me is just because somebody might be a media celebrity, whatever, doesn't mean that they come with the goods. And I'm going to be straight down the line there.
I completely agree.
There are a lot of celebrities that don't deliver. So it's really about making sure that there's quality.
Yes.
So if you have an organization that needs a speaker, for example, or whatever the case may be, for whatever purpose that is, and that's where Yaja and her team, I guess, nut down into the nuts and bolts of it, and you're going to get the right speaker for you, not someone that you're going to pay a whole heap of money for, and you think, what is that all about?
Yes. I'm hearing it. That's absolutely right. And I think that's the thing. There's going to be huge cost savings for everyone. And from the point of view of
sorry, Rob. Great, that's fine.
Okay. So there's going to be huge value for potential clients because our intention is that the client actually gets exactly what they want and more, and then some. Because the client ultimately wants results for their company, for their leaders. And if they simply bring aboard a celebrity because they happen to be a big name, they're not going to necessarily get the results they want anywhere near, because you know, as you've all seen with Alex, for example, her engagement with with each of the speakers, her engagement with, you know, even all of us here in the chat box has been phenomenal.
Oh,
That's the kind of thing that we're looking for in our speakers and facilitators. That's what we want, and that's what our clients want as well. And that's why it's really important, and we want to make sure that we stay really, really like a tight, closed community of people who actually know each other and really value each other. Actually, that was something else. That's the other thing that sets us apart. We market our speakers. We promote our speakers intentionally, directly to clients. And that's something that doesn't happen with other speakers bureaus unless you're a big name.
That's exactly right. Thanks, Yaja. And even in addition to that, there is also a program for speaking, which we run as well, which is another addition to.
Absolutely, and different aspects to do with virtual delivery, etc. So that's a program that I'm actually currently about to start.
Terrific. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Yaja. Wow. This has been an incredible day. But before we go to the next thing, and we're 15 minutes almost out of Yaja, in terms of what it is that people can tap into in terms of resources, and how is it that they can connect with you, and I guess we've spoken now that it will be in the link with the email and all the rest of it. Is there a particular program, sorry, voice is going,
Yeah, absolutely. Look, as you were saying, there's also your program that's going to be available for presenters, which is really, really crucial. And I think that's a given. I would highly recommend any programs that Alex actually designs. The program that I have created is called How to Create Empowering Online Events. Now, I'm not talking about perfect events. I'm not talking about, technically, 100% events. I'm simply talking about empowering events. And I'm sure that you'd all agree that today's event has really been quite exceptional, especially for an online event. We've had people praise us in the past that they've had more engagement during their online event, the one that we had, than they'd been personally in person in a room. Which does say something. So this program is for anyone who's been a bit scared of getting online and creating an event. You don't have to be a speaker. It's not about you necessarily going out there. It's just about creating an event that could potentially empower others and be empowering in itself. So it's also for anyone who's tired of seeing the same old dry speakers, same old dry experiences, getting bored, sneaking off, etc., etc. So now, on this occasion, for the first 10 people who register, this is one of those. It's $59. After that, it goes back up to $147. So I'm really limiting it to a very, very small group of 30 people. So first come, first serve, basically.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Yaja.